Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, this is interesting. Lee told me he had a small group of investors that asked me to come up and talk to them. You know, a small group. I figured, you know, probably had, you know, 7 or 8 little gray-haired women and things like that. So, anyway, one thing that probably like most of us, I'm a little nervous about talking in front of groups. Not very good at it, but there's good news tonight. You guys are in trouble because I made notes. And he also told me the 2 guys to watch out for, so now I know who they are. Anyway, we were, Lee and I were talking, probably November or so. I've been trying to get him to do some landscaping work for me, and the only way I could get him to talk to me is we started talking about investments. So we turned to real estate, and you know, we get to talking about our war stories. And I told him I had a funny one on the south side Walmart. Who remembers when Walmart, when there wasn't anything on the south side except the little Phillips 66 station and a little, I mean, y'all remember that? Wasn't anything down there except Lawrence Brothers, I think, had a grocery store. There was a little Phillips 66 station over there about where Starbucks is. And then there was a little convenience store with Stripes. Anyway, I left a career at age 40, which was interesting because I'd come out of University of Texas with a degree, and then at A&M with a master's, and was a banker. And I enjoyed banking until I got to where it wasn't any fun. Then I decided one day that I would just leave a career and go do something else. A friend of mine was putting together investment packages, so I thought, well, I'll try that on for size. And it worked out pretty well. I was rocking along and making some money, and after the first year, you know, you pretty well starve when you get out on your own. And this Hispanic fellow came to me, and this guy said, we have nothing in common, except we became friends. He said, I've got a deal for you. And he was telling me how the southeast quadrant of Midland, and those of you who are from Midland or have a history here know this, that there has always been an unofficial red line on lending in Midland. And the unofficial red line was south of Florida and east of Rankin. And I mean, honestly, people over there couldn't get a loan for the world to buy a home. They buy cars and they get, TVs. They couldn't buy any homes, and so that market forever was neglected. That's the setup. So Ray talked me into buying these homes. We'd fix them up and sell them. And back then we did contract for deeds. If y'all have ever done those, they're not really. I don't think you can do them anymore, in fact. But anyway, we did contract for deeds and some note and deed of trust deals. And I accumulated some of these things because back then you could buy a little house over there for, get this, $7,000, $8,000, because it wasn't a market. And there weren't any houses coming on the market. They'd always sell it to their cousin or their uncle or their brother-in-law's best friend or something. So I had access to some money, and we made some deals. We bought loans from FDIC and the RTC. And I had some investment partnerships that had accumulated some cash. And so out of some distributions, I had some cash. I started buying these little houses, accumulated a little portfolio of these, and it was kind of fun. It was all Hispanic-speaking people. They wouldn't deal with me. They would only deal with Ray because Ray was Hispanic and he spoke Spanish. And it was fun because we had this really strange relationship because he would find a house, I would pay him a commission, we'd fix it up and sell it. Anyway, rocking along, that's the setup. Rocking along, Ray came to me one time and he said, he was in the house moving business. He said, I need some cash. He said, I need $60,000. I said, don't we all? And he said, but I really need $60,000. I need to buy some equipment. I said, well, so long story short, I swapped him $60,000 for some worthless properties, South Midland. Couldn't give it away. Those that are familiar with Midland or had a history of Midland know that the city at one time, in all that land down north of the interstate, had an area in there called the window pane area. And it was in the city of Midland, but it wasn't inside the city limits. And the city just kind of ignored it. and principally because it was honestly, just a low-income area. Anglos, blacks, Hispanics, mostly Hispanic, probably 70% Hispanics, but the city kind of ignored it because if they annexed it, they would have to put in streets and gutters. And so I ended up with this large, worthless property because you couldn't give it away, you couldn't do anything with it. Part of it was in the window pane, part was out of the window pane. And so I went for a few years, probably 5, 6, 7 years, thinking, well, I'll put some storage units down there, because on these storage units it's outside of Midland. And the houses down there, like all underdeveloped areas of the city, they were small houses, people didn't have anywhere to put their things, they put them in the yard, they built a little building out back, and it was, I thought, well, I can make some money like that. And then I thought, it's kind of like the RV business and the mobile home business, it's a mobile home tracks, and you have to deal with a lot of people, especially on these small units, so I didn't do that. So I sat around for years, literally, thinking, what am I going to do with this property? And and I was doing my other real estate note thing, and I buying notes from the FDIC and the RTC and liquidating those. I got a phone call one day, and this guy said, would you be interested in selling 2.5 city blocks in South Midland? And I went, well, of course, wouldn't everybody? And he said, well, we'd like to send you a contract. And I said, okay. He said, well, what's your fax number? This is dating thing. So what's your fax number? And I gave it to him. He faxed me this contract. And it was from a couple of guys that had a real estate company in Dallas, Fort Worth, excuse me. A couple of TCU grads, and we kind of laughed and talked football a little bit and everything. And they sent me this contract, and it's for 2.5 city blocks in the south side of Midland. And I looked at this contract, and I went home that night. And you go through all these scenarios. If you bought anything in real estate and you or invested in anything in real estate, or you even thought about doing it, you go over these things in your mind about 2 in the morning. And so I was thinking, and I got their contract, and it said 2.5 acres, but it was contingent upon 2 other tracts adjoining this tract for sale. Oh, who in the world would do that? And I thought, Lowe's used to be back over now where HEB is. The Lowe's, no, it was, what Lowe's, it was,
Builder Square.
what?
Builder Square.
Builder Square, yeah. It used to be over there, closed down. I thought, well, maybe Lowe's is going to put another store on the south side. No, I wouldn't do that. Maybe Home Depot. No. So it went over my mind, and then finally it was kind of like Walmart. And so these, so I thought, it's got to be Walmart. It doesn't make sense for anybody else to do. And so I called these guys back the next morning. I said, well, I got your contract. And I've got some things, some rules in my real estate investing. And this is one of them, and I'll just cover it right now, is anytime that somebody hands you a contract to sell you a piece of real estate, look at it. And look at it carefully. And don't be afraid to mark through whatever you don't like. Most of the time, they're not deal killers. They're deals that the seller puts in or the buyer puts in, trying to leverage you into a position or leverage their position better than what you're comfortable with. So I looked at the contract. The contract was, I promise you, the most horrible thing you've ever seen in your life. There was a clause in there, and these guys wouldn't tell me who they were buying for. They just said, Jim and Joe, and we want to buy your property. I said, well, who are you buying for? They would tell me. And I looked at the contract, and this contract was so onerous that if there was an environmental situation that they discovered down there, I could actually have to pay them to buy my property. Trial precise. There was no limit to the environmental side of the deal. I looked at this contract, and I thought, well, it's got to be Walmart. Yeah. And so the guys, I got to talk to these guys the next day or so, and I said, I read this contract. Who drafted this? terrible. And because the lawyers had drafted it, it wasn't one of these, Texas Real Estate Board contracts that we all like to pull out of our desk and sometimes and do. It was like a real agreement. I thought these people were serious. And so I said, well, there's a few things in here that I don't like. But I said, let's just be honest with each other. You can tell me who you're buying this from. Fronting this from. They said, no. And I said, well, can we have an agreement that you will tell me who you're not buying it for? He said, yes. And I said, well, are you not buying it? Are you buying it for anybody that's not Walmart? And he got me. He said, no. He said, I said, we got a deal. I won't tell anybody. So, anyway, it was great. So I said, well, your contract's a little onerous. And I promise you, I took probably a 9-page contract and marked out 85% of that contract. And I went, no, this, no, down through there. Just went through the whole thing. I mean, the only thing I would allow is that if the other contracts, it was subject to the other contracts coming back in and closing on those contracts. Sent it back to them, got down and looked at the price, and this was for South Midland, believe me, when was it, 14 years ago. South Midland, this price was scary for South Midland. So it had to be somebody healthy. So talking about marking through, I just took the contract and marked through it and went on the price and went ×4 and sent it back to him. And and faxed it back to him. And this guy his name is David, I remember now. He called me back and said, Larry, I said, you killed us. And I said, well, I'll sell it, but other than that, I'm kind of romantically involved with this piece of property, so I'm just going to keep it. Anyway, I like to talk about Barnum. So, I thought, well, later in the afternoon, he called me back in about 15 minutes. He said, okay, got the deal. He said, we'll revise the contract. Everything you marked out is fine with us. And so then I got back to the contract. It was 2 pages. Seriously, it was a comedy. My secretary and I just rolled on the floor, just laughing about it. And they sent it back to me. And they said, are you sure you don't want to go up on price anymore? I said, no, I'm good with that. And so we came in, and long story, shortened somewhat. The setup on this was that Walmart had for years come in, for probably 3 or 4 years had come in and talked about buying the location where Lawrence Brothers was now Tractor Supply in that area. And there'd been conversation, and the people there had just gotten crazy on what they priced, and so they came over and picked up the Walmart contract, or picked up my property, plus the property used to be the Midland Soup Kitchen. I don't know if y'all remember, it used to be an old dorm down there that it was, I think it became a home for foreign exchange students, most of them over 30 or 40, so, they were just staying there when they needed to. And then the other was from a family, the James Tom family, and Walmart came in and bought this property. When you're looking at investments, never believe that the public has the whole knowledge. It may be out there. But when Walmart took a year to close, they dropped the contract 3 times on us. And, I was sitting there counting money, because I owned the whole thing. And I thought, this is going to be great. New airplane time, lake house, and they dropped the contract. Then they call us back, like a week later and say, okay, well, we'll do this, or this other group. They found some stuff on the Midland Soup Kitchen property. And they did there's some type of a innocent purchaser. Y'all may be aware of this, innocent person thing that, they could get around that, got it all cleaned up, and a year later we closed on the property. When they moved into construction, I think Lee Lewis out of Lubbock moved into construction trailer, and the little dirt barrier thing they put up around construction sites. It's pretty obvious Walmart was coming in and doing something. It'd gone through the city council, got approved and everything. And there were still properties in and around Walmart that were just hanging out there. that were for sale, that could be bought. And so I went in and started buying. When they put up the construction project, I went in and talked to the guy, and I said, just a chit chat with him. He said, you'd be one smart guy if you started buying everything you could around Walmart and around here, anything at all that you can buy. I said, okay, and believe it or not, right across the street from Walmart, I owned quite a bit of that land, but across the street from Walmart, there was still like half a city block over there that were still the little 50 by 140 residential lots. And so I called, tracked them down, called the people, and said, you would like to sell this lot? They said, well, yeah, what would you pay me for it? I said, well, I own all the lots around you. This will fill out my city block. I'll pay you this for it, which was a lot more money than they ever thought the lot was worth. And so I bought land while the construction site was going. I bought land around Walmart. I bought one tract on the interstate where Wendy's is. And I called this guy and said, you want to sell this? He said, well, it's going to cost you money. And I said, really? I said, what's it going to cost me? And I'll tell you one set of numbers tonight. This guy said, well, he said, I won't take a penny less. And it was 4 acres. He said, I won't take a penny less than $30,000 for that piece of property. And I said, I had $20,000 left. That was all I had, period, access to. And I said, well, would you take $20,000 and a $10,000 note for a year, and I'll pay you 15%? He said, in a heartbeat. And I went, and I hung up the phone, and you want to run in and grab your wife and just tell her that you did something, that you got lucky, you just won the lottery. And so we got to closing, and I'd cashed out our deal, and I asked this guy, I said, hey, on that $10,000 note, would you take $9,000 right now? He said, in a heartbeat. And so I wrote him a check for $29,000 at closing. We went to closing. And I close all my deals through one abstract company. I'd recommend that too if you can do it, because you get really familiar, they get familiar with you, they put up with your nonsense like mine. But, and I sold that property after Walmart. He called me the day that Walmart got through planning and zoning, got it approved by the city council. He said, you're the luckiest guy in the world. He said, Walmart's coming in on the south side. I went, you're right. And sold the property a year later for $485,000 to a guy that built the Wendy, excuse me, a guy with Wichita Falls named Lee. And it was a fascinating journey. I told Lee some of the stuff. Fascinating journey dabbling in South Midland, because the city wasn't fully committed. The city fathers were still, like it or not, they just ignored that side of town. And after Walmart started coming in, if you remember, they improved Rankin Highway, the sidewalks up and down it. And, but I think even after Walmart was almost finished, I was still buying land down the interstate for pennies on the dollar. It's crazy. So never second guess yourself, and never assume that something isn't available. My ex-wife said, famous quote, it's the only time I talk about ex-wife. She said, Walmart has made this horrible mistake, and that store will close in a short period of time. And she said, you're crazy for buying anything in South Midland. And anyway, she's right, I was crazy. But I've sold the land I sold about, I think from the front doors of Walmart, no, I think it started the parking lot, back to the east. I sold that to Walmart. Sold all the land to the courtyard right across the street, the hotel, the shopping center, the credit union, and the IHOP, the new apartments down the interstate. And I still have 8 acres. Can I have 1 minute on that acres? No, I still have 8 acres on the interstate that we're marketing. And it's just been it's been a pure sled ride, lots of fun. But anyway, I have some rules, and I know all successful investors have rules. If you're a numbers cruncher, or you're a risk taker, you know, whatever you are, you need some rules, some things to kind of keep yourself in the boundaries. Is Jordan here? There you are. Didn't see you. Jordan is, are you my adopted son or what? How many coffees have we had?
At least 3 by now.
He's at least 3 coffees. He's had I mean, I turned 70 last year. I'm really 28, held captive in a 70-year-old body, but I figure that, you know, one of these days that I'm not going to be around, I might as well pass a lot of this experience on to other people. And had a lot of experience, but back in my banking career, I was a cleanup banker. 35 years old, I was the president and CEO of a bank. At 37 years old, I was the president and CEO of another bank. And so I had some, and that's not to say that if you don't have a college degree, because I've known a lot of guys that don't, that are as smart as I am. Trust me, you just get in and apply yourself. But I built a building over next to Jordan's RV park out there. I admired the way those guys have succeeded in that place, because it's just done, I mean, it's done exceedingly well, or it appears to be done exceedingly well. You have a lot of people in there, so. Anyway, and I've got into building these 7,000, 11,000 square foot oil field buildings on 2 to 5 acres. That's been kind of some sport. One other thing too, I was going to start to say, but you know, at least asked me to come give this talk to people who are interested in real estate lending, or real estate investing. This is a nice place. I was kind of expecting kind of a low light, smoke-filled room, and a bartender with rolled up sleeves that says, "I hate taxes" on a tad or something like that. But it's a great group y'all have here, and I like this little 1-minute thing, marketing thing that you're doing. That's a great deal. I wish I'd known it. I could use about 7 of those. But real estate's fun. It's a hoot to, and especially when you start making, when you do a deal or two that makes pretty good money, and pretty good money right off the bat. When I first got in out on my own, pretty good money might have been, you know, $3,000 to $5,000, and it's still pretty good money. Most of my little houses, my little house notes, I still have house notes over in South Midland I'm collecting note payments on. I prefer to go the seller finance instead of the renting, because my experience was that if you do a 30-year note or a 20-year note or a 25-year note, your cash flow, if you're not betting on what the end value was, your cash flow works out to be better, because the tenant then replaces the hot water heater, the faucets, the sink faucets. You know, they all have, everybody's got cousins that's in the roofing business. And I bought back houses after they'd been paying for like 5-7 years. And so I got to resell them and do the refinancing. So my cash flow of principal and interest was better than if I rented them, because then they call me and I have some rentals still. I have a notorious rental on the south side of Midland, north of Walmart, about 3 blocks. That they used to be the Columbia Apartments, had different names. They were the nicest place to rent in Midland in 1941.
Those are the duplexes?
The triplexes, yeah. Catty corner to Midland Freshman. Notorious. I've owned them for 27 years. Got into them because it was kind of a mission project. Ray, my friend, brought these things to me. And there were a lot of people in that area have no place to rent. There weren't even rentals on the south side, southeast quadrant. Very few rentals. Very few multifamilies. And I bought those. But anyway, that's the only residential rentals I have now. That's right. Some of my rules, and you know, these have worked well for me, and everybody has their own thinking about what they want to do and how they, your own slant, your access to funds, whether it's your funds, investor funds, your father-in-law, your dad, your brother. I'll tell you, first and foremost, that bank debt is the cheapest. It's also the worst. A bank is the worst partner you can have because they don't work logically. I was a banker for 16 years. Banks work off of, you're 7 days late. One reason I did so well on the southeast side of Midland is because if I was financing a house for this couple and, Jim hurt himself at work, I could say, they call up and say, hey, Jim's off of work, or Juan's off of work, or whatever, is off of work, and we're not going to be able to make our payment, or we're going to lose our house. And I go, no. Interest kept accruing, and I was getting at that time, I was getting 12, 13% off these notes. And I clicked in a little late charge. It wasn't onerous, but it was enough that it helped. And so I go, no, just, when's he going back to work? Because they said, well, he's going to be off for 2 months. And I would go, well, that's fine. Because I was in the money on these things. Well, it really depends if you're in the money. If you've got a good investment base, low investment base, you can be kind to people, first of all, and they remembered it too. And you can say, why don't y'all come in to see me? If it was now, I said, come in to see me mid-April. Let's talk about it, see where you are. And those people would always make their payments. And I never had a default. I probably had, over the years, 35, 40 homes in there, maybe more. And I'm still collecting on a lot of those notes that they got behind on interest, and finally caught up and still making payments. They were like 20, 25-year notes. So, and I would have never done this as a banker. It would have scared me to death. But that side of town was a great place to do business. So if you can identify a market, if you're doing RV spaces, if you're doing mobile home spaces, if you're doing buy and hold, buy and flips, if you identify a market, you just become good at that market. It's the only difference between you and any lawyers in here. The only difference between you and a lawyer is that guy never got to go out on a date in high school. They were studying and they worked really hard, and they do well. And I have, and I tell my lawyers these jokes too. But a lot of us worked really hard and come through and are going through, young guys here, and you learn it. But there's nothing magical to running title on a piece of property. I don't know if you've done that yet, but I'd never done it. I was a banker. I was 40 years old, and I had never been to the courthouse and chased title. Everybody, who's done that in here? Everybody, yeah, just go down to the courthouse. You know what? The records are open. The fact is, you can do it online now. You can just dial it up and just check the chain of title. Or if you're a little squeamish about that, you can get a title company to do a run sheet. And it'll cost you a little bit of money, but not like a title policy. So you can just say, gee, here's a rundown house over here, and the weeds are this high. Apparently they don't treasure this little thing to have, and I might want to buy it. So you give them midcad.org, you find out who owns it, and you find they're 4 years behind in taxes, and you call them up and say, hey, would you like to sell that? But doing these things are really easy to do. And once you do one, I'll tell you what it's like. My first company, the name that I got out with was Barefoot 391. I've been doing this since March of 1991. And my brother and I used to laugh because he and I used to ski barefoot when we were kids. And the funny thing about skiing barefoot is that it's really easy to do after you've done it. But until you've done it, it's really scary. So, and that's a lot of real estate. A lot of my companies, if you look at Barefoot on MidCat or look at the state, you'll see some of my companies in there because a lot of this stuff is really easy to do. You just got to go, I think I'm gonna go and try this. You're a young guy, you go, well, I wonder how they do this. And the information's out there. And with the internet like it is, you can look up an immense amount of information on law. And like evictions, evictions used to be ooh, I'm gonna call my lawyer to get these people evicted. Well, I mean, if you call a lawyer to get somebody evicted now, you're just wasting money because it's right there on in the Texas code, and it's very easy reading. And so, anyway, what else? Okay, we got the bartender with a tattoo. Lee didn't tell, he didn't limit me on what I could talk about, so. Let's go over some rules. Some of my rules of real estate lending, okay? Real estate investing, excuse me. Never rule out an investment until you've looked at it, okay? Number one is, if it can eat, it can die. So don't ever buy anything that eats or is alive, okay? Just stay away from it. Don't be tempted. I think George's heard some of this stuff before. Is don't get into something that's got some inherent risk in it. If there's a lot of asbestos hanging around, now those apartments I have on the south side, we mitigated the asbestos in the shingles by putting siding over it, which is perfectly legit. But don't get into something that has got some obvious risk to it, and it can be mounting risk, and it can be geometrically mounting risk, because just like getting married, you start learning right after the wedding ceremony. That's when life, when you start learning about everything, about relationships, about this and everything. And when you buy a piece of real estate, closing is just the beginning of it. So if you're going into closing and you see some problems with a deal, let's say that you're doing a man camp out here, and on the other side of town you find, and I'm not saying this right now, but on the other side of town you see there's 3-man camps for sale, and they're not very, you can identify these risks easy. I mean, it's not like it's magic. It's not like you go, oh my gosh, look at that deal. How could I ever miss that? It's kind of like, well, if you get kind of like Walmart dealing with property down there, if you think there's some environmental problems, you better stick something in your contract about environmental problems. If you can mitigate risk, fine, but if you can't mitigate the risk, get away from it. My bus runs every 20 minutes on investments, okay? Write it down. Runs every 20 minutes on investment. If you're not seeing them, you're at the wrong bus stop, okay? That's how the deal works. And you got to figure out how to get to the different bus stops, because deals come around all the time. I mean, you see these people out doing extremely well in life, and a lot of people here are probably doing very well in life, and the reason is they're finding deals, and they're pursuing a deal. Take the RV park on the south side. I would have never thought about doing one of those until I saw the one that the guys did up there, and I thought, my gosh, I'd like to put one on the other side, but they're both policemen, so I didn't do that. But anyway, so never rule out a deal until you've looked at it. And if there's an opportunity for increasing risk that you can't mitigate, and I'm serious about mitigating those things down to nominalizing them where they're not a risk, don't do it. Okay, I've already gone over it. If it eats, it can die. Don't get into something that can have a shortened life for whatever reason. My best deal is cattle and horses, stuff like that. Okay, one that all the successful real estate investors will probably admit to, whether they want to or not, is if it's on the open market, you're buying at retail, and there's not much money to be made. And don't work yourself over too much on those deals. They're just hard to make money at. The ones you make money at are the ones that aren't on the open market, or that you can go in and do a cash offer and get it below market. But if it's listed, it's not a good deal. If it was a good deal, somebody else already had it. Okay. And these are just mine now, this is different rules, these are my rules. Okay, here's a good one. When I first got out and banking, and it's my standard rule today, the stranger it is, the better I like it. Because it will keep out, it keep you out, it keep you out, it keep you out. So I have less competition. Kind of like playing a ball game with, you know, the couple, 3 or 4 guys that they're A-team that aren't out there. And so if you can find something strange and you can mitigate the risk and you can understand it, then you're doing okay. And I like it because my best deals have been the strangest deals. I bought a vacation home in Idaho, and it was so far in the market that there had to be something wrong with it. The problem is that it was a short sale. Are you familiar with the short sale? Short sale is when the bank is controlling the sale, because they're going to have to take a hit, but they haven't foreclosed on it yet because they're a bunch of sissies, or they just don't want to, get into that mess. This was Bank of America, which I'll tell you right off the bat, they were the worst bank I've ever dealt with. You had to escrow the purchase price on this house, and they wouldn't approve any sale that had financing, not theirs, anybody else's financing. So it was a strange deal. This house sat on the market for a year and a half, and so the stranger the deal, the better you are at being able to negotiate terms, okay? Because if there's a deal out there and I can eliminate everybody but this guy right here, as far as competition, I've got a competitive edge. And if you have access to funds, investor funds, or your own funds, or whatever, and you can offer a cash deal, then you can beat him out. All deals are cash deals at closing, but when you tell a seller that, they perceive that it's a better deal. If I'm going to buy your deal for $4.9 million, I'll do a cash deal. Well, if we go to the title company, you're going to get cash. You're going to get a cashier's check right about it. So everybody, it's cash deal. But anyway, the stranger the better. One thing is, you're riding along, you've done a deal or two, and you made some money, and you get to think you're really smart. Call your mother-in-law, or call your ex-mother-in-law or whatever. Somebody will remind you that you're not quite as smart as you are, or you'll stump your toe on the next deal. And if you're in real estate lending and you haven't stumped your toe yet, probably want to meet me at the door. We need to talk, because one of these days the door will fly open and just knock you flat on your back, and you go, how in the world did I miss that? And it happens. And when you do that, you're going to go, hey, I remember that guy that talked to us at the investment club, and he said it happened to him. It's happened to me. And you go, wow, where did that come from? So anyway, another one I like is never overthink a deal. If you've looked at a deal and you've kind of gone through everything and you're kind of wishy-washy, well, that's a pretty good deal, but don't really feel good about tying that money up like that. Listen to the negatives. Because if it's close, the negatives always win, because it's not going to be that good of a deal. So get away from it. And I do that all the time. I look at a deal, I go, oh, wow, that'd be great. And then I kind of like Jordan's RV Park. I had a place out north of it. Well, I think I put one of those things in. Then I can't travel and do what I want to do, because I'm going to have to find somebody to manage it, trustworthy, set up system, and then, have money come in. Y'all have that problem. If you have, RV spaces, you got to have somebody manage it. You got to stay on top of it. You got to make sure that, that 3A isn't a drug den. And, okay, goes along with that, we'll never overthink a deal. Probably 95% of the deals that you look at, you're going to get a feel for. And if it doesn't feel good, just stay away from it. I'm talking to myself down in the mirror. Now, if it doesn't feel good, I'm going to get away from it. Even if it looks really good, and I'm not comfortable with it, I'm going to get away from it. Let's see. Be prepared. best thing you can do, and I think all the successful guys that have done deals in here and made some money off of them, or doing deals and making money off them, will agree, it's best to be prepared. I mean, you can take an online accounting course that nobody in the world will know that you took except you, so if you fail it miserably or you make an A, it doesn't matter, nobody's going to know about it. It's good to just kind of get a fundamental. Accounting is nothing other than just recording expenses and incomes and managing your assets. It's simple. There's nothing to it. They've been doing it since, I think one time I read like the 1580s, something like that. It's a real simple thing to pick up. It's not hard to do. It's also not hard to read, especially with the internet now, because you can get layman terms, you know, about things that are legal, things that are not legal. When you're doing a deal, don't get lazy. Finish the deal. If you're into a deal, you're committed to the deal. If you're raising money, finish the deal. Put it to bed every time. If you're going to do it, don't go, well, gosh, this is great, but you know, we're going to go to Colorado for a week or 10 days, or we'll finish the deal. Always finish the deal. Another rule, this is a great rule. Always remember this: lawyers outside the courthouse are generally bargains. Okay. You get a lawyer, he'll save you from. If it's a pretty complicated deal, he'll save you a lot of money. And there are a lot of attorneys that, you know, they charge $300 an hour, $350 an hour, but sometimes it'll save you a whole lot of money. Or he'll go, well, Larry, have you thought about this? And I go, well, why would I want to think about that? You know, because you need to think about this because of this. You go, oh, okay, I see where we're going with that deal. Lawyers outside the courthouse are pretty reasonable investment. Lawyers inside the courthouse are horrible investments. Horrible. If you go to the courthouse, like I said, when I got out of banking, I sure put together investment partnerships to buy loans from the FDIC and the RTC, and they were principally non-performing or underperforming real estate loans. And my goal with my investors was, or one of my stated principles of my investors, we are never going to the courthouse. Okay? We're not going to go to the courthouse because we will lose half or more of our profit in the deal if we go to the courthouse. It's much better to appear to be a reasonable guy and say, hey, you owe me $75,000 on this piece of real estate that's worth $80,000. I don't want your real estate. Why don't you pay me $65,000 and let's get away from each other? And while you appear to be altruistic or whatever, you're just down at the courthouse. Because when you go to the courthouse, it costs, I don't know what it costs nowadays. I think the last time I filed suit with somebody a long time ago was like $5,000 to $7,000 just to file suit. And then they bill you like crazy. I was teasing my lawyer about, I got a bill that said 15 minutes for $175. Saw you walking down the street and waved to you, but it wasn't you. You know, and so, anyway, another deal is you always make your money when you buy. You always make your money when you buy. If you're betting on the counter, you're betting for something to develop, and you're paying up for something, you're probably not going to do as well as you wish you would. Talking about being prepared, I kind of like the story of David. That was a great story. You know, David was a shepherd boy, and he wasn't a big guy. He was ruddy, you know, red-haired, ruddy-faced shepherd boy that was really good with a sling, you know, slingshot. And when he went to the camp of Saul, there are great principles right here. When he went to the camp of Saul and saw what was going on, he wasn't prepared. Like, you run across a deal, you run across that place out on the interstate. You may not be prepared for that. Maybe something strange and new, and it was strange and new to David because he had never seen a war like this, and he had never seen a guy like Goliath. I mean, you know, he was a blue chip All-American, you know, 6'9" or something like that?
9-something.
Yeah, 8'9", huge man. But he had never seen like this before. But David identified something, he saw a cause, and a cause is like, gee, I can do this, I can buy this this deal, and I can make it work. And so David saw that cause, and he told Saul, he said, I'm going to fight this guy. And Saul said, well, here, put on my armor. They said, it's too big. And so the analogy there to real estate lending is don't get into something you're not familiar with. If you're going to go at something, use all the skills you have, but don't do something that you're not comfortable with. So the best part was when David went out to fight Goliath. Do y'all remember how many stones did he pick up? 3. And he picked up 3 because he didn't know if Goliath might have had 2 brothers. He knew that one person was going to do the job. And what did he do at the end of the deal? He hit Goliath in the head with a stone, right? And Goliath fell. It didn't kill him though, did it? Y'all remember the story? He cut his head off. He finished the deal. So close your deals. If you're going to do some real estate deals, if you're going to do a good deal, make sure you close it. If you're pulling on a deal, and I've caught myself doing this before. If you're pulling on a deal and you're really having to pull hard on it to make it work, and you can feel this when you're doing this. When you get into a deal, if you're really having to pull hard to make this deal work and you let go of it, it will spring back the other way. It'll show you if you need to do the deal or not. If it doesn't spring back a long way, keep it on the deal. But if it springs back, just get away from it. I used to tell guys, my lenders, if you're having to work to really document a loan, to make it work with paper, it's not going to work. So, the other one is 30, 40 years isn't that long. Get busy now. If you're going to do deals, or you want to do deals, and read books. There's some awfully smart people out there that are writing books, and they'll sit there and tell you these things. Because you're going to pay $15 for their book, and they sell a whole bunch of them, they make a whole bunch of money, but on the other hand, they're telling you how to do these things. And most everything we do in real estate lending, virtually everything, is public knowledge. It's just how you do it. It's how to use it. It's whether you want to pull up and shoot a jump shot from the top of the circle or shoot an easy layup. And so most of the things are pretty easy. Never cheat the government or anyone else.
Okay.
And you'll sleep a lot better. And that's been a big rule of mine in life. It's just pay your taxes, don't pay any more than you have to. And a good CPA can help you on that deal. But pay your taxes and be honorable in the deal. In all deals that you do, do not go away thinking, well, I'm a piece of dirt, but I made some money off that deal. Because sooner or later you'll run across that guy, you'll sit next to him in Sunday school or something, and it's it can just be really uncomfortable. And so if you make a rule like that, you say, just always be legitimate in your deals. And I've run across lots of people that aren't quite straightforward when they're talking to you about a deal or selling you a deal, and you think, I'd have a lot more respect for you if it's going to cost me more money if you just tell me. Okay? And you appreciate people like that, and you do business with them again. This guy brings me a deal, and we get it together, and it's just like he says it's going to be, and we make a lot of money, we spend a lot of money, then we're going to do more deals together. And you'd be surprised how small the world is. The other thing is, you never, talking about your Doberman, always take time for your family. Play with your kids, grandkids, throw the ball for your dog, take your wife or your husband out to Wagner Noel for the Christmas special, or go to Manny's Italian restaurant and have a nice dinner. If you make some money, it's okay to spend some of it. And I have some people in my family that they've amassed very quietly some money, but they live like church mice. And so they die. What do the kids do? Woohoo! It's time to spend your grand's money. So anyway, that's kind of the end of the.
When you sell property, do you sell it fixed rate or variable?
Oh, I always did fixed rate on the properties. Yeah, variable rates. I've got and through the years I've had a couple of different software programs, who uses Buildium here, anybody? For your property management? You have properties?
No.
What, do you have,
No, no, no.
do you have a CAN
I didn't
system?
No, I didn't raise my hand. I'm sorry.
Do you have a CAN system that you use on your, are you tracking your rentals? Anybody?
No.
What do you,
QuickBooks and Zillow.
QuickBooks?
And
I
Zillow.
use an online deal called Buildium. It's just been bought by RealPage, which is like, the Trump empire, it's just big.
What's it
But
called again?
Buildium, Buildium. It's a real handy little deal, costs like $60 a month, and it does everything but give birth. It really does. It's a deal. RealPage is a huge outfit, but they handle apartments, like you have 10,000 units. Building, you can have 10 or however many, but it's a really nice piece of software. So don't be afraid to look at that online either and do the little test run. There's some other little small, if you have a whole lot of properties, I'm anticipating here that nobody here's got 1,000 units in here, but there's some that, you have like 3 to 5 units, talking about your variable rate. You can do this on your rentals too, if you just don't have the time nor inclination to look to see if Sylvia has made her payment, or Sylvia is, she calls it, I'm late, I know it's the 13th, what do I owe in late charges? And some of my rentals, I have like $25 on the 5th and then $10 a day thereafter. I encourage people not to be late. And they call it, well, what will I owe on the 23rd when my aunt's going to send me some money? So I can plug it in there, and it will tell me what what her late charges are. I can also look at her history. I can look there. I can put her application. I can have online applications, but things like that. But variable rates are good for banks, because banks have changing cost of money, and they want to. The best thing to do if you're going to owner finance them, just jack the rate up on them. If market rate right now is 4, 5, 8%, just put 10% on there. If they want you to carry the note, you're accommodating them. That's my thinking. And and it worked out really well. That way you don't have to think about it. You can put it. I had a Lotus system forever. Who remembers Lotus 1, 2, 3? Yeah, I had a Lotus. I still have it. And you can plug a note in there, and Lotus will go through its instant worksheets. Who bought it? Microsoft? Somebody. Anyway, discontinued it, but it's like Excel. But and you can build there's a whole lot of Excel worksheets out there that do this. So, no, I don't do anything with floating rates. Just fix rate it and get away from it. Set your late charges. Set late charges. You can waive the late charges, but if you don't have the late charges in your deal, whether it's a rental or a promissory note, you're not going to get it. And professional renters will abuse you, been my experience. And so I set in stiff late charges. And if they call and go, like I said, one fell off the roof and he's not going to work for 2 or 3 weeks, I can waive his late charges. Man, I've got one lady that cleans houses, and she's just like one of the nicest people that God put on the earth. And she has to make a lot of money. She has 2 granddaughters live with her, and they're the quietest 15 and 16-year-olds you've ever been around in your life. Man, I don't have one person in that apartment. And so I habitually waive her late charges. In fact, if you go through on Buildium and look, you can see where here's $255 late charges waived, or credit due is what it works. So anyway, other questions?
What's the name of the program you said again?
Buildium. It's like build, IUM. It's really nice. I looked around for a while and I got tired of it. I actually have a stepson that's an executive with RealPage. He's well off the organization, but they'll do so much more for you that you'll never use for $175 a month, so why pay the money? Ask anything. I have an opinion. I got a lot. But they're well founded too, by the way. pay for. A lot of them have been expensive.
Do you still have your vacation rental property in Idaho?
No, that's my property.
Oh, that's your property. Do you still have it?
It's not,
Yeah. Whereabouts?
it's north of Boise, about
Oh.
an hour and a half in Boise National Forest. I look at the Boise National
Okay,
Forest.
I'm from Boise, so.
Isn't that a great place?
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Don't tell anybody down here about it.
Yeah, well, I think California already found out.
Yeah, well, it's funny that a lot of California and a lot of Oregon, did y'all see the paper in the last day or so? There is a petition in Oregon where a lot of the people in South and East Oregon are trying to be annexed into Idaho because of the liberal government in Oregon, the little state government. in Oregon. So they want Idaho to annex a block. And I wish they would, because the pheasant hunting in that area is really good. But no, and that's just another, let me tell you what. There's nothing better than success. And there's nothing wrong with making money. If you idolize, they say that money's the root, the Bible said money's the root of all evil. It's just the root. It's what you do, But making money is a lot of fun. When you do your first big deal, I mean, it's a hoot. You agree? You do a deal, and whether it's monthly cash flow pouring in, or whether you just knock it over the fence and you make six-figure income on a deal, like your filling station, there's no feeling like going home going, "Phew, I am wealthy." And you might have made $5,000, but you feel like you've knocked it over the fence, and those are great feelings too. It's the best, in my opinion, it's the best career to be in, because they are not making any more land, okay? God made only so much land. I bought a shopping center at South Padre Island. Talking about the weird stuff, I'll tell you a funny story. I went down and looked at a package of loans with a group out of Dallas when I first got out back in, I can tell you how long it was 27 years ago. And there's this huge outfit, and they had megabucks. And I'm just, like dead in the first reader in this deal. I mean, I was pretty good at what I've been doing, but I wasn't doing that anymore. So I went down to Houston to look at these loans. And we do all our due diligence together, and come up with numbers, okay, on this loan, this is on a strip center in Corsicana, and they have an appraisal of, $225,000, but, we have recent pictures, let's put X number of dollars on that. And so the loan was maybe, this is how this deal worked for y'all that weren't around 30 years ago. But the loan was maybe $125,000. And so we go, okay, on that one, let's put a price on that one of $85,000. And so then we put together all these numbers, and that's what we bid on the package with the FDIC and the RTC and the bank crash in the late 80s. And I bought a shop, I've been doing some work in Houston with this group, buy these loans, and I was just starting to make money. I had this group of investors, and we were just starting to make some money, and it wasn't like very big money, by the way. So these guys were going to sell me this portion of this package of loans. They were all the loans in West Texas. Well, guess what? I knew a whole lot of these people, and they weren't bulletproof. And so we knew we'd collect a lot of that money. I knew how to collect a lot of that money, and we were paying 35 cents on the dollar for the package. And so I knew I'd make a lot. Well, I went down there, and so I called back and I said, okay, well, I'll take this package of loans for this amount of money. And they said, well, we're not going to. We've changed our mind. So our Houston office says they may run out of things to do, so we can't sell you those loans. And I went, great. They said, well, how about a shopping center at South Padre Island? I don't know about y'all, but back in the 70s, I went to South Padre Island one time, and there was a grocery store, and a post office, and a Holiday Inn that looked like the old Holiday Inn in the Frank Sinatra movies, And I wouldn't have, I want that, no way. So, anyway, they said, well, that's all we can do. They said, well, I have an appraisal somewhere. I said, well, I want. And they said, well, I said, well, find me the appraisal. And so I couldn't find the appraisal. Somebody taking the appraisal out of the file in their office and couldn't find it. So they finally said, well, we'll give you this, well, I'll tell you what, we can buy it for this amount of money. And I went, whoa, I didn't want a shopping center. I mean, who wants a shopping center? Anybody here you're abnormal if you like shopping center. No, he'll just a lot of trouble. But a lot of work, and, you know, the tenants expect everything. They're not like living there, they expect everything, so. Anyway, I said, well, I'll give you this amount of money for it. They said, well, since we were nickel on the other deal, we'll do that deal. So I bought a shopping center, South Padre Island, and I booked a flight the day after closing to go down and see what I bought. I called a realtor there, said, are you aware of this shopping center? He said, yeah. I'm sitting there looking at it. I said, what's it worth? I said, in 15 minutes, what can you get a check for? He said, well, I can get this for it. I said, okay. So anyway, strangest deal is sometimes a really good deal. Sometimes it's not. I've looked at deals like that that are crazy bad. Yeah.
So aside running titles through MyCal and all that, how else are you getting deals? How else are you able to kind of generate deals
You know,
and leads?
I look at it like mining. I go out and mine for deals. If I've got some cash I need something to do, 1031 exchanges are wonderful. But I just go out and start mining for deals. And I think, well, I got into building these oil field buildings here a number of years ago, just simply because I ended up with a building and I leased it. I thought, whoa, that's pretty good money. And so, well, I'm gonna just build me one. So, you know, it's just whatever works around, you know, if you have guys that you know, or, you know, another of my big rules is in a deal, I think all the guys in here doing deals will agree, there's only one wheel on the bus. Somebody's got to drive. If it's your deal, don't ever give that wheel up. I've had investors threaten to sue me because they wanted the run deal because we were doing really good money. So they figured out, and I went, well, why do you want to do this for them? You know, we're thinking that Ken can do this. And I'm thinking, I said, well, Ken's an idiot. You know, why would you want, Ken wouldn't have anything had his uncle not left him, you know, but a couple, $3 or $4 million. But there's only one wheel on the bus, and never let go of that wheel, because if you ever let investors get into your business, have it right up front in your deal. There's, you know, that you run the show. If you don't run the show, then you become a subordinate manager, and people run all over you. So, yeah, I'm finding deals. I'll just kind of look along and find something, and then once you start looking, you'll start seeing better. You start looking for deals, and you know, and you can believe it or not, it's really good to racially profile these things. I mean, find a group that you like, or an area that you know, and it may be predominantly white or Hispanic or black or whatever, Asian, but find a market. If you see some avenue there that works, start looking into it. You know, one way I used to drive up and down streets when I was out and around. I'd go, well, I gotta drive this, and find the worst house on the block, and then call the people, call the owner, send them a letter. So, would you like to sell this house? A lot of people have written out signs of the deal on the street. Some of y'all may have signs that I don't know. I've never thought there was much future in that. There may be, but call people. You know, if you find a lot down, you know, three blocks down from your house, I mean, the locale is great because you're right there, and call them up, make an offer. That's one way to go out and find deals. Another way is just go up and say, hey, church, after church, you talk to somebody, say, yeah, I've got into doing some real estate deals, and I'm looking for some single families. If you run across anything, and I promise you'll be surprised at how often somebody will come up and say, hey, my sister-in-law has just decided she's going to sell her house. You know, are you interested in doing the deal? Deals flow to you like that.
We got time for one more question. Anybody got one more question? I'll give you one more question. What abstract company do you use?
I'll preface that the way I should, and the way everybody like. There are a lot of good abstract companies in town. I prefer West Texas Abstract, Randy Pittman. The reason is Randy and Becky Wetzel sold it here like 3 years ago to somebody, but they've stayed on, and they're really good at if there's a flaw or there's something that needs to be taken care of, getting on that. Sometimes title companies aren't, they want you to go take care of it. But I've closed, I probably closed 25 or 30 deals through Randy. And so I can call him and say, or he'll call me and say, Larry, we got a problem here. I go, well, fix it. Oh, here's another one. Y'all get tired of me in a minute. But there's a whole lot of experience of you understand. When you go to closing, do not take anything for granted. And if it's a big deal, send it to your attorney. Get the docs emailed to you ahead of time. I sold a place out in the country that, and I kept a part of it because it had some water, it had good water on it, so I kept a 40 by 220 tract, believe it or not, with an easement down to some other property I had, some buildings. And I got to closing, here's all the title documents, and sign. I said, wait a minute. I said, let me read this. And the deed had a deal that easement went away upon my death. Which means I have two buildings, 3,000 and 3,200 square feet, bringing in a large amount of money each month that lost the water because of running water down where the buildings are. And the other realtor had called up a little girl in the back room and said, we've decided to do this. And she took the we as everybody and hadn't got anything initial, so I was in closing, I was looking at that. And I asked Randy, I said, well, anything in the deed that I need to think about? He said, yeah, we made this change right here. But it said that, you know, upon my death, the easement went away, so I couldn't get the water from the wells back down to my buildings. So every time you go to closing, read your docs. They're not that hard reading. And if there's anything unusual or you anticipate a larger deal, there's a lot of money involved, always send it to a lawyer. Pay him the $500. Get it over with.
Let's give him a hand.
Well,
Thank you very
you
much.
bet. Appreciate it.